Welcome to My Spoonie Sisters, featuring stories from special guests dedicated to empowering those with chronic illness. Our goal? To connect people and provide the support and tools they need to live a better life. For those with chronic illness, our energy levels just fade faster. We must be more purposeful with the spoons allotted to us. So grab your coffee or tea, sister, and tune in as My Spoonie Sisters share stories of living with chronic illness. Hi, my Spoonie Sisters. I'm your host, Gracefully Jen, and I have the honor of having Amanda from Be Well with us today. Hi, Amanda. How are you?
Hello, Jen. I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well. I'm so excited to have you on here. We've been chatting back and forth for so long, and to finally meet you, it's been so great.
I know, same to you, following each other for a while, so it's great to make it official. And when you actually meet someone from a social world, it feels like you've known them forever.
It's great like that. I love it. So, I want to start out by having you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to kind of dive in and talk about your diagnosis and Be Well. But yeah, let's start out by tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, do you want me to keep this medical or do you want me to stay outside the medical world?
Honestly, whatever you want to share about us, your
Okay.
family, how many kids, anything you want to share.
Okay, sounds good. I think I'll do more so like my medical story and growing up with Crohn's disease, and I'll touch points about my family as well. So it all starts when I was little. And I mean, I don't know if people remember being before 5 years old. So I'm going to say it's going to probably be sometime after being 5. But I just remember being a child with stomach aches all the time. And I was the only person in my family that complained that their stomach hurt all the time. So as you can imagine, with less known back then, how people treated me, and they're just saying, "Oh, you're constipated. Oh, just go to the bathroom and just eat different." And my mom did play into me a little bit, where once in a while, I think she did take me to a doctor, because I remember being on a vacation and my stomach hurting, and her taking me to a doctor somewhere. I think it was in North Carolina, and they did an x-ray and they didn't see anything. And they said, "It might be a gas bubble, but let's give you an enema to try to work it out." So it's so funny because you hear people all the time just being ignored for their symptoms. So that was my whole life. And I was not diagnosed with Crohn's disease until my senior year in high school. And I was one of 4 kids. No one else has any other medical issues. And no one in my family has IBD, even aunts, uncles, cousins. No one else has Crohn's or anything like that. So senior year in high school was a little different than all the other years. One of my first symptoms that started happening was I stopped getting my period. And you can imagine, I was a lifeguard at the time, so it was great. I didn't complain about that. I was like, yay, no period all summer, like 6 or 9 months of no period. And so I really didn't speak up too much about it. And then on top of that, I was coming home from my senior year in high school tired, and I would lay on the couch, maybe get up for dinner and lay back down, and then still sleep all night. And I don't know if that wasn't a warning sign. And then at sometime around there, we were switching doctors, my parents' insurance. And I remember having to get blood work for the first time in my life, getting the needle in the arm. And I had so much anxiety about it that I almost passed out. And I remember that blood work came back showing anemia and low in some other nutrients. So you combine that with the missed periods and then the stomach pain, being tired every night. So we were still monitoring. The doctors weren't finding anything. And from senior year, starting around September, August timeframe until January, my symptoms got worse. And now the nights I was coming home and laying down, I was also getting nightly fevers. And then I started getting severe pain after eating. And when I fast forward to January, I think my mom was trying to schedule a doctor's appointment again, and they didn't have an opening for like 1 or 2 months. And she's like, "Okay, we're not waiting, and we're just going to go to the emergency room." So went to the emergency room. That might have been for the first time in my life as well. and they did x-rays again, and they saw something that wasn't necessarily related to the Crohn's, but I totally believe this is all related. They said, you have pancreatitis. I think it's called amylase and lipase, the things they measure for that, were off the charts. They couldn't even measure them anymore. And so they said, we need to get you to a better hospital. Do you want to go to Hershey Medical Center or Philadelphia? And I'm from the suburbs towards the country. So I was scared of the idea of Philly, was worried, more concerned about my mom trying to visit me in the hospital and having to drive in the city. So I chose Hershey Medical Center. And so they drove me by ambulance there, and I was not allowed to eat for a week. I think I was just on an IV fluid. They were doing a lot of tests. It was a medical school, so every time someone came in the room, there was like 5 of them. In the end, they called it idio something, where they didn't have a cause for me having pancreatitis. They said maybe it could have been mono going around schools at the time. And if you received mono, that could have kicked off some immune reactions, pancreatitis. But I didn't drink in high school, so it definitely wasn't that. So I think that after having pancreatitis, they were like, well, this doesn't explain all the other symptoms and your period shutting down. So after being in the hospital for a week, they discharged me. I was given an order to go get a scope, a colonoscopy, and doing both sides. And I think that was probably a couple weeks later. And that's where they saw the Crohn's disease in the intestines, more so I think in the ileum, the small intestine. And they started treating me with medication. So it was my senior year in high school, 17 years old, that I was diagnosed, and I was being treated, following a strict diet, went off to college, and was actually in remission for most of college. So I'm very thankful for that I didn't have to deal with too many symptoms during that time. And then after college, I got a job at the place that I still work today. I call my day job. And during the time at my day job, I didn't realize how much stress that commuting and daily work was causing on me, and my symptoms started coming back. And if a stressful event happened to me, like, for example, when I was living in an apartment with a roommate, they walked out on our lease. So I was very stressed, obviously trying to scramble to find someone to share my lease. That put me into the hospital again. So second time in the hospital for a week, and had inflammation and a lot of pain. And after that week, I was also put back on medication, given steroids. And then during this whole time, dating someone that I met in college, who I end up marrying, and we have 2 boys together. So right now they're 3 and 5, Maverick and Jackson, if you ever hear me talk about them. And currently in remission. Last hospitalization was last year in February. I'm starting to take my meds every day. I'm sure some people know that people get off their meds when they're feeling good or if they're too expensive. I've done that a few times, but with having kids and trying to do everything you can to stay out of the hospital so that everything isn't put on to my husband, I've been definitely taking my medications every day now and trying to work through the lifestyle changes. I can say to anyone fighting for medical accommodations to work from home, do it, because I've been so much better since working from home and not dealing with all the symptoms of commuting. So that's my long background / Crohn's story.
Okay, wow. Okay, I want to go back to, so you were diagnosed at 17, and then you went off to college and you said you were in remission. During that time in remission, were you taking any medication? Did you need anything, or did you think you didn't need anything?
I think I went to college taking my medication. I think I literally ended college trying to stop taking it so much. Probably at that time in college, my parents were still paying for medication, so I had this guilt factor of how expensive they were. And then also feeling good, I felt like I didn't need them. So I had this belief that there's a lot of people you find on social media talk about this as well, that you probably can manage a lot of symptoms and issues without medications if you have the right diet, if you have the right lifestyle, lower your stress. And I think the times in my life when those things were apparent and increased, I had that lesser need for medication. And I firmly believe that the times that I did get flares and hospitalized is I was under a lot of stress. The roommate walking out, and I really attribute the latest one to diet. Just, having two boys, it was the winter time. I probably wasn't cooking great if it was fried foods, So I I did stop taking medication, and that was a variable. So I try to take it now, but I also feel like I've had those experiences that warrant looking into other means to alleviate symptoms.
Absolutely. And I think it's important for people to recognize that sometimes there's many moving parts to the health of our bodies. And so paying attention to to our stress levels, to what we're eating and drinking, if we're drinking enough water or if we're not, and how much we're moving. Movement is medicine. That's so important. It's many things combined that help us feel good, right?
Yes, I agree. And I know one of the things that I see a lot of people talk about is how the doctors don't bring that into play. And I can say that I've never had a doctor ask me about my diet or my exercise to the point of lifestyle and impacts in my life about all my Crohn's and my Crohn's symptoms. So it's almost that trial and error. I know that I have an IBD journal on Be Well, and I use that to make sure I'm held accountable, and it makes me try to stay on track with some of those things that I've already had those observations about. And I've seen that trend of when I drink more water, when I do more walking, when I don't eat oily foods, my symptoms are a lot better all around. So I think it's realizing what those things are that are attributing your symptoms and trying to stay away from them.
I think you brought up a really good point too. It's extremely important to journal all the things. Journal your symptoms, journal what you're eating, when you're moving, all the things, because it's really important to look back on that. And quite often, doctors want to look at that.
Yeah, so I've tried apps, and my problem with some of the apps out there are either the information didn't download correctly or in an easy consumable way, or they didn't track enough things and they didn't track the things that I cared about tracking. So I think that yes, doing it manually is hard. I'm one of those pen to paper people. And I also find that I don't try to do it all day long. So I know that some people don't do it because they're like, let me track what I just ate at breakfast and lunch and dinner. And when I took my pills, that'd be 50 times a day. So I usually find myself tracking in the morning for yesterday or in the evening for that day. And then I do my one page in the journal, and I always use the indicators on there for me for specifically Crohn's disease. Like there's like a stool chart. So that's very important to me, and the water and the sleep and the stress. And so to that point, it is hard to do. I can see why people can't stick with the journal tracking, whether it's the app and opening that 50 times a day or doing it by paper. It does take a lot of effort.
Absolutely, but I cannot stress enough how worth it is. I think that going to see our doctor or our specialist, it definitely helps them. If we walk in and we don't have a lot of information, if we say, oh, I'm having a little bit of a pain over here, but I've been okay for the last 2 months, that's not a lot to go off of.
Yep. I think that there's also, it's just a reference point. So say you're never going to use it to do trending per se and look at it over like months of it at a time. Maybe it's just knowing that after a month's worth of tracking, you starred your really good days and you like did something to identify your really bad days. And one of the things that I made the IBD journal that we have for is so the foods are really impactful for me for Crohn's. So, and when you're in the hospital, sometimes they do restrictive diets. So having the pages in my journal that are good foods, bad foods, a list at the front, it's pulling out those things that you learned after you're trending, after noticing today was a really good day. What did I eat? And moving that item to the good food list. And when I had a really bad day, oh, I had fried chicken. I do not do well with oil. Put that on my bad food list. And that has really made grocery shopping easier for me because it's just that quick reminder that, hey, this isn't good for me. Like try to stay away from that at the store, try to stay away from making it, try to stay away from it when you go out to eat. So I think that there's little pieces of the journal that I created for Be Well that have helped me, and that's how it made my life easier, is that it put those extra pieces of information in there, those extra pages to make a good food, bad food list, and that has helped me stay away from the bad foods.
I think that's fantastic. And I think it could help so many people. It doesn't have to necessarily be someone with Crohn's, because there's so many different illnesses that do affect your stomach and other areas. And they kind of do a lot of little overlapping, right? And so I think it's just so important. And what I kind of want to go to now is you're talking about Be Well. I really want to share with people how amazing this creation that you have is. So how did it come into play? How did you go about starting it?
Sure, thank you. So my last hospitalization was a little over a year ago in February 2022, and this was at a point that was probably within a year after my husband started one of his own businesses, and the business that he started was doing well. He's a website guy and he's a business guy, he's a finance guy. So he's been able to handle so much of this website that he's created. He is very much an entrepreneur spirit. So he did a lot with this company, and he had a lot of trial and errors before this one. And this one that has been doing well, and watching him build that made me think about, like, what could I do and what could he help me with and do together? Because the one that he has a family member in on it and someone else. So there's actually 3 guys in on it, like 3 founders. So I said, what could we do and I do with you? Because in the spirit of wanting to not have a day job, I wanted to have my own business. I am a finance major and I enjoy the business aspect of things. So when I was in the hospital, I thought to myself, this isn't the first time I thought it, but it just made me think about it again, being in the hospital, that there's not really a Crohn's store. So it started out with the idea of remembering my husband always talks about his ideas and how he was trying to test marketing, and it's easier to market towards a niche market. So instead of just this broad, open-ended market to everyone. So I'm thinking, well, this follows his protocol of what could make a good product. And then I thought to myself, I'm in the hospital, I'm cold, I've already asked for more blankets. And I believe this wasn't even the first time I thought about the whole zipper on the sleeves Ivy hoodie, but I was definitely thinking about it there. And then I was thinking about, because of going on a restrictive diet again, just low fiber, low fat. And I had to remind myself, like, what are those things? That's where the IBD journal started. I was in the hospital designing pages on what it would look like if I could track everything that I wanted to track, because other ones that I Googled didn't seem to have everything. And then in that time I was Googling, what's low fiber foods? Just remind me, like, let me make the list so I can go grocery shopping when I leave the hospital. So I designed that there. Then I started to look up buckets, because my problem has always been a stress from commuting to work because of urgency. And there's days and weeks where I'd be stopping at bathrooms just to get to work 1 to 3 times. Like, I would go and I wouldn't be finished. I'd try to get in the car and try to get closer to work, have to go again. And my solution at the time was an ice cream pail, like one of those big 1 to 2 gallon sizes from the freezer section. Of course, eat all the ice cream first and then line it with some plastic bags, put toilet paper in it. But obviously anyone entering your car is like, what is that? Like, did you actually go in that? I don't want to sit next to it. So that's where I was like, how can I create something that you could go to the bathroom in, and then I wouldn't have to try to run to these gas stations at 7 in the morning. And it also collapsed so that someone doesn't have to stare at this bucket while they're sitting in the back seat. So I was looking into manufacturers, and I found one that I could work with to make the bucket the height I wanted, have the rim, because I've used my ice cream pail and I've cracked the ice cream pail because you can't put weight on it, and the rim is as thin as the whole pail. So ours was designed to have a thicker, soft leather-like rim so it can support your weight, and it collapses. And I thought to myself, because how would that look? How can something collapse, fit under your seat, but still be able to hold something that's liquid? And it's the firmness that it pops up to, and then the plastic bags are all we are concerned about. So and then the materials, easy to wipe if anything did get on it. So in the hospital, I was thinking about all these things, writing down these product ideas, saying, what would make things better that I'm doing already? And so the bucket, we would make that better than the ice cream pail. The IV zip hoodie, we would make that better than other hoodies that are out there right now. And I know that there's other hoodies out there for chronic illnesses. There's ones with port zippers and whatnot. And the thing that we liked about ours that makes it better was the zippers are always color matched. So it's discreet. Like, why do you want to call attention to those zippers? So that was one thing. The second thing is I didn't want it to look like fabric from a hoodie from Walmart. I wanted it to feel premium, be soft. I didn't want it to feel like that. Is it the Glidden brand hoodies? I didn't want it to feel like cheap like that. I wanted it to be cozy and soft to make someone feel better. So the premium fabric, the color match zippers, something that's, I don't know that people realize that is better than some other options out there, is that the zippers are, there's two of them and they're two-way on the sleeves. So that means that if you had a one-way zipper, you would zip it all the way open to get your IV, but you'd only be able to zip it as far down as your IV is, and the rest of your arm would be open. But because the functionality of having two, you can close around your IV wherever that is on the arm. And then, of course, one thing that I care about when buying things, I don't want big, ugly logos on my clothes. And so that's one thing. I didn't even put a Be Well logo on the hoodie. I wanted someone to feel like they could wear it from the infusion center to the grocery store and it just looked like a hoodie because the zippers are on the inner wrist side where you would get the IV. Those are against you really when you're walking. And so all those things were just about trying to make it better. And then I think from that hospital stay, my husband said, let's do it. So I started being the one to work with manufacturers, designing all the products, picking the colors and the name. And then he created the website and he's the photographer. I hate being the model. So, but that's how it has to be right now. I don't really have a lot of models around here. And Be Well started. So I think we launched July last summer. So it'll be a year in July.
I just think this is so fantastic. And I want to put a challenge out there for anyone that does have one of your Ivy hoodies. Get a great photo. Have someone take a photo and send them to her. Stop making you have to be the model all the time.
I appreciate that. And I do appreciate the people that have been sharing their photos already because one, it just makes me so happy. I literally get tears when I see pictures and the people that send emails and letters and thank yous and how my products have helped them because that was the whole point. Like it's things that made my life easier, things that I could share with other people. And then if it accomplishes my dream of running my own business and not having my normal day job, and it's just going to be a win all around if I can actually grow this to get these products to more people to make their lives easier. But sorry, back to the photos. I do appreciate them. I love the letters and the notes that I get from people because it really hits you when it's really helping people.
Yeah. And I wish you would have been around 10 years ago because when I was first diagnosed in 2012, quickly I failed several medications and I ended up doing the biologic infusions. And those infusion rooms, they're cold. And then you get the IV in, and that's cold. And, several different infusions, you're there for hours. There's some medications, you're there for 6 hours.
Yeah.
And having that IV hoodie, that's life changing.
I am not using it myself personally for infusions. I've been lucky enough, or should I say, just strong enough that I've not succumbed to recommendations to take those yet. I just didn't want to be on dealing with the issues people have with the paying with insurance with them. I didn't want them to stop working. So I'm right now on a goal of trying to see how long I can go without needing to take those. But I do use them and I do feel that they help me in the other ways. Like I've worn them to get my blood work done. I've planned if I go back to the hospital to take it there. So my mom, who doesn't even have any issues, wants to buy one from me. And I'm like, stop, don't be silly. Like you're like a once a year blood work person. I'm like, you do not need one.
But she's excited to look adorable and show off something that you've created. Go mom.
Christmas present, maybe. We'll see.
I know. That's awesome. Okay. So, what are the top 5 things that you would have in your Spoonie toolkit?
Spoonie toolkit. Well, is it allowed to all be Be Well items? Because they sound like perfect Spoonie toolkits.
Of course.
Okay.
Anything you want.
So obviously the urgency bucket. I've used it. I keep it in one in each car. So love the urgency bucket. Pill holders. So the reason I designed the pill holders that I have is because I wanted them to be a little bit more discreet and not look like typical pill holders. I also have history of CVS pop tops opening in my purse. So the way my pill holders open, they don't seem to have that problem. But specifically, toolkit. I like my travel pill pouch bundle from Be Well because I use it to go on vacations and I pack my 7 days a week pills in the little pouches. I put them all in the big pouch and they pack flat in my suitcase with my clothes instead of taking up any of the bathroom suitcase. And I also love the designs of them. So they're fun and tropical and airy designs. And I like having those 3 extra pouches because those are not for like the daily meds, but those are meant for like if you have the as needed stuff, like if I wanted to put Tylenol in one or Xanax in one. So love my travel pill pouch bundle on Be Well, the urgency bucket. So we're at 2. So Spoonie toolkit. I would just say the fact that having the medications that make me feel safe. So for me, it could be having like a Pepto on hand, a Xanax on hand. Like, so I get anxiety about long car trips. So having that with me makes me feel better. So the medications themselves that will give you peace of mind. Spoonie toolkit number 4. What would that be? I would say
Maybe the journal?
I do take the journal with me. And you know what? I'm just going to say the tote too, because honestly, I usually travel with all of it in there. But I didn't want to try to be well for all these items. I was trying to think outside the box. But I'm so focused on Be Well right now. So we're going to go with those.
Calling all Spoonies. As a host of a chronic illness podcast, nothing lights up my day more than hearing from you, our incredible listeners. Whether it's a topic close to your heart that you want us to uncover, or you are keen to show your own journey as a guest on our show, your voice matters. Living with chronic illness can often feel isolating, but through the power of podcasting, we can come together as a community to uplift, educate, and inspire one another. Your stories, insights, and questions drive the conversations we have and the topics we explore. So if there's something on your mind, a story that you are just itching to share, or a guest you'd love to hear from, don't hesitate to reach out. Your voice is not only welcomed here, but celebrated. Let's continue to amplify the voices of those living with chronic illnesses and create a space where everyone feels heard, supported, and empowered. Together, we are stronger. I know for me, it's like gadgets because of my hands. I use a lot of gadgets, but you don't have that problem.
No, it's everything for me is around bathrooms. So like if I wanted to say like it's the extra toilet paper, it's the wipes, it's that urgency toolkit that's makes up my Spoonie toolkit.
Do you carry wipes with you?
I do. I've actually looked in for Be Well to have cute wipe holders, but right now I thought if a current one is waterproof, they do fit well in those travel pouches with the palms or the blue pearls.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
So they do fit well in there. And I actually use those pouches in each car as well for other things. Like I just love how everything's so versatile. So I'm using them in each car right now where they hold extra things like the wipes, the toilet paper, extra masks in case you're somewhere that requires masks. So those pouches have really come in handy using them for everything.
Definitely. Well, and for listeners, if you did not see, my husband and I went to Hawaii and I took my kit with me. And that way I looked all fun and tropical and people had no idea what I was carrying around with me.
So I guess I should caveat that and say if anyone's wondering, like, what is there a theme to Be Well? There's no theme, there's just colors. But the reason I put the colors on the things that I do and the designs that I do is because I would say the beach is my happy place. And so all of the colors that remind me of happy are like the blues, the oranges, the beige of the sand, like sunsets, those are happy colors to me. And I just wanted everything with Be Well to be beachy and in that way happy and bright. So if that means anything.
Well, absolutely. I think you succeeded in that. And that's why I was so excited to take it with me. And my husband honestly didn't even realize what I was carrying around. I took it down with me to the beach when we went to the restaurants. That way I had everything I needed. Because even though I have rheumatoid arthritis and it's different than you, I still have meds that make my stomach upset, or just in general, my stomach hates me.
And to
And
that point
yeah,
of being different, it is something that I'm trying to actually branch away from already with Be Well, is that I went into the idea of a Crohn's store, but I'm leaving with the idea of it's an autoimmune store. And there's different people that don't have Crohn's that have urgency buckets, because I'm finding that just normal day-to-day people have urgency, or it's somebody that wants to use the Be Well bucket to change the ostomy bag because they have colitis, or just an older person with incontinence. And then obviously the IV hoodies are good for everyone from dialysis to chemo to biologics and iron infusions, fluid infusions. So I just want to make sure that that message is seen as I evolve the store to be more inclusive of all autoimmune diseases, that it's not just a Crohn's store. That was the idea, but I think it's bigger than that.
it definitely is. And I think that I want people to realize you're very open to ideas of things that they need that you can make better and provide for them in the future.
Yeah, so I'm very siloed to what's made my Crohn's life better. And I feel like I've already done a lot of things with that. And now I just have to have that mindset on again, like coming across certain things in my life and then realizing, oh, this could be better. And I want to challenge everyone listening to tell me if you have those ideas, because I will take other people's ideas and try to make something better, and potentially a future product on our store. So the goal is to grow, to have more products. And I know these aren't always make life easier products, but if they make sense just for the autoimmune community, like one of the things that we're looking into are different types of heating pads. Another thing we're looking into is socks, like fuzzy, comfy socks, because I can say that the last hospital stay, or all of them, of course, you get those very ugly socks that either are tight or they're falling off. And I remember that they were just like 10 sizes too big last time. And I thought to myself, I think I would bring my own socks. I was cold. You have to get up and go to the bathroom. So I was like, that could be a good addition to a Be Well store. And I have two design ideas. I'm probably going to present them to the Be Well community to vote on, but hoping to get some comfy socks in the future, potentially a heating pad. Another thing that people have talked about a lot are stickers. I know that a lot of people will add them to their journals, to their water bottles. So looking into designs for that, and open to hearing other product ideas on how people could make other problems with other autoimmune diseases better, and would love to hear anything that people have.
Okay, so I'm trying to decide. I have all these questions in front of me, and I'm trying to decide what are the most important ones to ask you. And I think I have one. What advice would you give to others that are dealing with Crohn's or anything similar?
I would say be your own advocate. Only do what you're comfortable with, and don't be ignored and don't be pushed around. So something I've heard many times along the way is that I should be on a biologic medicine, and I've turned it down 10 times already. And I'm doing okay, and my disease hasn't progressed, and I'm seeing that through my scopes. So I would say find a doctor that works with you, not against you, that it's okay to not be comfortable with something they want to do, but they should be working with you on your treatment plan, and not only deciding for you what you do, but you need to be comfortable with it. So the best thing that you can do is speak up and be your own advocate.
Absolutely. Okay, is there anything that we have left out that you find is really important to make sure we let listeners hear?
I would just say that I started Be Well to help others in the way that these products have helped me, or my makeshift versions of them have. And I would say I invite anyone with autoimmune diseases, or people that just are family to people with autoimmune diseases, to follow, and please just to let me know if there's anything that I can do to help, any topics that you want to see posted or on the website, and always open to feedback, good or bad, ways to make things better. I want to make it useful, the website and the products, for everyone with autoimmune diseases.
I think you guys have done such a great job. You and your husband make a great team, and I'm so glad that I found you and your amazing products. And you were such a sweetheart. Everyone, you need to go find and follow her. Amanda is the sweetest. Where can listeners find and follow you?
So obviously, Be Well is a very common term, so you can't just Google that, at least not right now. We're probably not high on Google at all. But the website is wearebewell.com, and that is our username as well on Instagram and Facebook. And we have a very small TikTok presence for anyone who's uses TikTok. And because I'm not a model person, it's hard to get on there and create reels. So apologies for that. We'll take anyone else's Be Well product reels though and post them if you send them to me. But yeah, those are the three places we are besides the website. If you sign up for emails, we really try not to bombard people with weekly or daily emails at all. Only really use it for announcements. So that's another option, is to sign up for email on the website. Sorry.
And that would be great, because then you get to hear about all the new colors that come out, and if there's a new product on the way, definitely sign up. And she will not bombard you at all. I can absolutely attest to that.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I will make sure I share all of your links in the show notes, but I'm also going to challenge you. I think I'm going to talk you into doing a reel with me. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. I don't know what it will be, but we're going to come up with something fun, and I'm going to push you just a little tiny bit out of your comfort zone, because I'm crazy
you do
like
that. I need someone like that. I need the extroverted friend.
I am I'm actually an introvert, and people don't know that. I am like the most extroverted introvert. I don't understand, but somehow I accomplish it.
I think you did tell me that, but that's good too. That's good balance.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And listeners, until next time, don't forget your spoon. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. The information should not be taken as a replacement for medical, clinical, professional advice, diagnoses, or medical intervention. My Spoonie sisters and guests will not be held liable for any of the consequences of such action or inaction. Trigger warning. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including, but not limited to, suicide, abuse, mental illness, and chronic disease. You are advised to refrain from listening if you are likely to be offended or adversely impacted by any of these topics. None of the guests or hosts will be responsible for your use of the information contained therein. Life is not merely to be alive, but to be well. Living a life with a chronic illness is best described with one word: unpredictable. Be Well's products are designed to make the unpredictable easier to deal with. Back when I was getting my infusions, I would have loved to have their adult zip hoodie. They even have one in pink. They also have everything from one-day pill holders to urgency buckets. So remember, they want to make your life a little easier. So be sure to check out Be Well.